Welcome back to another episode of the Tipitina's Record Club podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ben Ellman, with my buddy.
I'm Robert Mercurio, Ben's buddy.
We are back here again, and you probably have already received our latest release of Clifton Chenier live at Tipitina's from 1980.
Yeah, we're really excited about it, and we wanted to shed some more light on who he was and this recording. So luckily there was this panel that happened in Lafayette, The Life and Legacy of Clifton Chenier, at the Festivals Acadiens et Créoles. Scène. You want to finish this one, Ben?
Atelier.
I think that's it. Atelier, he knew it. Yeah. His daughter speaks French, so she's been helping us out.
She's been coaching us here, yeah.
And the programming was by the Center for Louisiana Studies, University of Louisiana Lafayette. And in October, they put together this panel, Todd Mouton.
Todd Mouton, who also wrote the liner notes.
Yes, and he
wrote a great book on Clifton Chenier.
Yeah, a great book called Way Down in Louisiana, Clifton Chenier, Cajun, Zydeco, and Swamp Pop Music. And on this panel, it was pretty amazing the people he was able to put together. He put C.J. Chenier, who was Clifton's son and had actually played saxophone on this record.
Great saxophone player.
Sonny Landreth.
The amazing guitar player.
Yeah, who also played on this record.
Sonny Landreth was part of Clifton's band for a period. Mm-hmm. And this is the only record I believe he appears on with Clifton.
Yeah, I think he mentions that in this. And that we were fortunate to catch him. It was one of the earlier gigs that he had done with this band. And Cheryl Mouton, who was the granddaughter of Cleveland Chenier, who played washboard on this record and was Clifton's brother and had been in the band for years.
I believe in French, a washboard is called a frottoir. Probably pronouncing that wrong, but I might be close.
Or is it what your daughter says?
Frottoir.
Okay, there we go.
So we're really honored to present to you excerpts of this panel, and we hope you enjoy it.
How about it for C.J. Chenier, everybody? Sonny Landreth. Cheryl Mouton. We've got a lot to talk about, because when you want to talk about the life and legacy of Clifton Chenier, you're talking about the history of all of us. You're talking about a long time, you're talking about a lot of accomplishments, you're talking about a lot of spreading the word about what's special about the way we live and the way we do things. And when you talk about his legacy, you need to look no farther than the three individuals here and so many more around the festival grounds and beyond around the world. There are so many things to say about Clifton, and just to set us up a little bit, I thought I would throw a little bit of a timeline on things, because when you talk about the life and legacy of Clifton Chenier, you're talking about the entire history of us as Creoles, as Cajuns. And to put a finer point on that, Clifton would be 98 right now. Cheryl's grandfather, Cleveland, would be 103 right now. And so when you look at the century of the Cheniers, you go back to Cleveland's birth in 1920, Clifton's in 1925. That's before they were recording our music. And then when you kind of look at the timeline, 1928, Cléon Bro-Falcon records Allons à Lafayette. 1929, Amédée Ardoin and Dennis McGee start recording. Clifton's a little boy. It's the Great Depression. He's up in St. Landry Parish with his brother. He's working in the fields. He's playing the accordion. He's listening to the radio. He's hearing things like Joe Liggins and the Honey Dripper and Louis Jordan. And then he's going to these parties and these picnics and these la-las and these get-togethers, and there's this accordion music, there's this percussion music, there are these lyrics, there are these rhythms. And then what a lot of folks don't really, I don't think, spend a lot of time thinking about is through the 1930s and the 1940s, he just kept doing his thing. And it wasn't until he was about 29 in 1954, he went over to Texas and he made a recording in a radio station. And And then he went out to Los Angeles and made recordings in Los Angeles. And then he went to Chicago and made recordings in Chicago. And then he came down here and made recordings in Crowley. And then in the 60s, he hooked up with this guy named Chris Strachwitz, and we have some of the Arhoolie archival photos up here. And I think that's when it really kind of all came together. A lot of this roots music, this electric music, this R&B, all started kind of becoming one thing. And there's a lot more history that we'll get to that comes after all of that. Because this music, this food, this dance, this way of life was not known until Clifton started going to Europe. And Clifton started traveling the country, well, continuing to travel the country, and playing the Creole Trail, playing all the dance halls, the church halls, all the way out to the West Coast and back, in the company of these artists and family members. And so I bet we all wish we had a time machine and we could go back. And today, you're gonna get 5 minutes in a time machine. Because thanks to some friends of ours in New Orleans, we recently discovered a 1980, June 7th, 1980 recording of Clifton Chenier and his Red Hot Louisiana Band at Tipitina. It's coming out in December. And talking about this huge timeline of our history, there was a period in the 70s where all of a sudden Little Buck and Jumpin' Joe and John Hart and Buckwheat were in that band. And they were doing some amazing things. And then Clifton started getting ill, and he had some health challenges. And he came back in 1980 with a new band. His son CJ's on saxophone, 29-year-old man named Sonny Landreth, first white member of the band's on guitar. And all of a sudden, Party Down had a new sound. So let's take a little 1 minute listen to Tipitina's. Close your eyes for a minute and picture yourself right there in the one-story version of Tipitina's. Cover charge is probably about $5. Probably about 300 people there.
We're gonna party. We're gonna party. We're gonna party. Well, well, well.
Chenier on saxophone right there. There's CJ. Tell us what was going on June 7th, Saturday night, New Orleans.
Well, there was always a party, man. When Clifton Chenier was in town, everybody got down. That's the way it was, because he was like a party animal. And when you got on stage, man, no matter whether he was standing up or sitting down, it was just this energy that came from him. And when you're up there with him, there's nothing you can do but try to hold on and follow. Try to hold on, man. See if you can grab it and hold on to it, because he was going with it.
Well, and I hinted at it, but y'all came into the band at a really unique time. I mean, John Hart, on tenor, he's playing reeds. Your dad's playing reeds. They've got this interlock thing, and then Little Buck comes in the mid-70s. He's playing, that's Cheryl's dad, Little Buck Senegal, by the way. And so you guys are seeing this amazing band, and then all of a sudden, y'all need to step into their shoes.
Well, I actually thought John Hart was going to be there. When my dad called and said, okay, come meet me, I was like, all right, I get to play with John Hart. I got that he wasn't there, man. I was like, uh-oh, because I didn't know. I didn't know anything, and I was so green, I was like 2 years out of school and didn't have a clue what I was supposed to do up there, but all the band had patience with me and they all tolerated me learning. It was a good thing.
Well, and Sonny and I were talking, you heard a little bit of it there and a little bit of a breakdown, and we'll hear some other bits later. Just Clifton and Cleveland and Robert St. Julian, Chidi on the drums, just by themselves, they were like a rhythm orchestra. He had the bass side of the accordion, he had the piano side.
Yeah, it was incredible, and I've never heard anything like that before or since. And the other thing that would happen when you get into the old school Zydeco, he'd break it down just to them. And then we just kind of stand there, or I did, or somebody did something he got mad about, and he threw us all off stage. He'd say, just me, Cleveland, and Robert. Y'all get off the stage. And so we had to leave, and then get in the groove, and Gramps would get in that, we call it the Zydeco trance. When he started leaning forward on the flip-flop, and that's when it really gets serious.
Can I say one thing? Everybody call it old school. I call it real school.
So Clifton and Cleveland were in Port Arthur with Willie Landry, and they drew in the sand. Hey, could we take this rub board and could we kind of put some kind of hooks on it, kind of make it into more of a vest? And that's considered one of the only instruments created in America. It's in the Smithsonian now, their creation, the modern rope board. So he invented an instrument with his brother and with a great metal worker. And we've got it here today. And another thing is you talk about all this French roots and all this stuff, but Clifton was a blues man too. And nowadays a lot of people try to distinguish about whether they play the blues or they don't play the blues. I've got another clip. I want to take you guys back to Tipitina's back in 1980. And what's interesting about this recording, it's coming out in December. And we had booked this panel and planned to talk about these things, and we've got some topics we had in mind, but then all of a sudden there's this artifact, and this is a version of 3 O'Clock Blues, but Clifton's quoting Sweet Little Angel, he's quoting all kinds of different lyrics, and we'll just hear a little 2 minutes back on stage with these folks at Tipitina's.
Well, now 3 o'clock in the morning, did he even throw my 3 o'clock in the morning, baby, didn't even close my eyes. I believe, Lord, I'm going down slow.
Sonny Landreth, C.J. Chenier, Clifton Chenier.
I almost wish you hadn't done that. I can't play like that anymore. But now we have documentation.
So y'all are about 10 people have heard this recording before right now. This is a really serendipitous thing that it would just sort of come to light right now. And it's 8 tracks, it's 40 minutes, it's from 43 years ago. And again, can y'all take us back? There was about a solid year where you guys were the band, y'all were going all over. Y'all were playing every club in South Louisiana and beyond.
And we were staying in motels with one bed for 2 minutes.
I wasn't going to give that up.
That's some road dog stuff there.
And a whole lot of snoring going on. I mean,
Oh, man.
it was Jazz Fest. We had 4 in the room. And I just remember waking up. Well, anyway. And the next morning, Cliff came in, and it was like we were just getting ready to go play Jazz Fest. And he was all dressed up, and he walked in. He said, "What are you boys doing?" You know, and he went in there and got ready for the gig, and that's all. It was the London Lodge. The London Lodge on Airline Highway.
No double beds, just singles.
Yeah.
And just so y'all know, the grandmaster snorer of them all was my Uncle Cleveland. He'll tell you, I'm gonna give you a chance to go to sleep. You better take that opportunity, because once he crunk it up, that was it. And then he wake up and just start talking to you. And then he starts snoring again right after he finishes sentence.
And you know, I think another fascinating thing is that in 1980, you guys were also playing in the Sonny Landreth band with Robert St. Julian and with Cleveland. And tell us about that.
Yeah, well, that came a little bit later, because CJ was actually already in the band when I came on board. So we started hanging out together, the 2 young guys, you know. And I'd go over to CJ's house and his mom's house in Port Arthur, and we'd sort of meet there, and then Cliff and the band would come and pick us up, and away we go, you know. So that was just like part of the routine. And we did that for about a year. But at one point, I made the album, an album in Créoles called Blues Attack. So I got all of them together as a favor, you know, to come in and part of what would become Bayou Rhythm. So that's how that got started. And we cut like 10 songs in 3 hours.
It was fun too.
Yeah, and we just one after another, you know. It was I've never had an experience like that. So that's how it kind of segued. And at one point, then the band I had went out and started playing in Colorado and come back here and do the festivals and that kind of thing. And we played with Zachary. I see his picture back here. And at one point, then CJ came on board with us, and that's when it really started heating up. And we started going up into the mountains. Those people never heard anything like that, because that's when you were really starting to play accordion more.
Yeah. I was getting in the groove at that time, you know, but I was still playing saxophone and keyboard and trying to play the accordion.
He did well, but so he did all of that in our band. He played all those instruments, and it was really amazing. And one day we went up to your dad's hotel room, and he was showing you know, some of the mojo on the accordion, and that was incredible to watch. But it's great to have that, be part of that. You getting off the ground there. The rest is history.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of history, again, this is an amazing slice, a little moment in time when you guys met and started playing together and doing all these things. And, you know, Clifton had been laying the groundwork. He, as I mentioned, he drove out west in about 1955 to make records in Los Angeles. And, you know, there was no GPS, there were no cell phones, there were no pagers, there were no fax machines. Just a bunch of dudes in a car who believed in themselves that they could go sing in French and play accordion, and people might like that record. And they did. And then as time went on, you know, in the 70s, Dickie Landry's sitting right there, he brought Clifton to Carnegie Hall. And Clifton went to the Montreux Jazz Fest. And then not long after Sonny was in the band, CJ, you stayed along for the whole ride, Grammy win. All of a sudden, Cajun and Zydeco becomes the most popular thing on earth, and there's Cajun Spice Ruffles, and Burger King has the Cajun Whaler. And it's like, how did all that happen? And now, Clifton's won a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Grammys. Bogalusa Boogie is in the Grammys Hall of Fame of recordings. And, you know, the world out there is a better place. And I think something that a lot of folks wonder, because he's this famous figure. He was very large. He wore the crown. He, like his son, he had really big hands. He could do anything with that accordion. What was he like as a person? What was it like? If Clifton could be here right now, what would we learn about his personality?
Not to mess with him too much. He always had Hawaii. He didn't see Hawaii 5-0. We always had Hawaiian 5-0 by his side. You know, like.
I've heard it called Little Hawaii too. Don't make me get Little Hawaii.
No, he was a very, very even keel person. He was like real calm all the time, except when he got on stage. That's when the electricity happened. But he was just, you know, himself, man. He didn't have attitudes. He didn't have none of that kind of stuff. He just believed in his music. He walked around humming the blues, and sometimes he pulled that harmonica out of his pocket and whip a few notes on it. You know? That's just how he was all the time. And you see him all the time in a 3-piece suit. That was it, you know. 7 o'clock in the morning, Clifton Chenier had a 3-piece suit on with a tie. And that's no joke. And when he played, take the coat off, turn the tie to the back, whip it out, 4 hours, turn the tie back to the front, put his coat back on, and that was a wrap.
Yeah, and he was really gracious too, like bringing me in, and because a lot of people saw me, what's he doing in the band? It was kind of an odd, kind of standing out, you know. But he held to it, and I think part of what he would do, he would say, we played some of the, you know, the clubs out in the country, and he would say, "How y'all like my guitar player from California?" Somehow that made it okay, you know. It was the only applause I ever got. But we would go to people's houses during the day, you know, way before the gig, and they'd be cooking up a huge meal, and then we'd dance the records. And that whole thing started all day, and eventually segued into the gig. And it was really wonderful because I felt welcomed into the Creole community too. And the first time I heard Cliff, for me, I'm getting into the blues and all that as a kid, and then I heard about this guy who played blues on accordion, and you know, I was used to watching, you know, Lawrence Welk with my parents, and so that concept just somehow, I had to go check that out, you know. I'm 16, 17 years old, and so a buddy of mine and I went to the Blue Angel Club. We heard that he played there. And he saw us, he was inside, he saw us at the door, we're kind of peeking in and not knowing what to do, and he said, "Hey, so, come on in here. Come on in here." And he sat us down with him, and from that point on, you know, it was like welcoming me in, and So when years later I got to play with him, finally, it was like a dream come true. So that's how that all started. So he was that kind of person, and he stuck to it.
Yeah.
And what about Uncle Cleveland? I mean, did he ever pick up the accordion or the harmonica, or did he just stick with the rubboard? He was the master.
I wasn't born, couldn't tell you.
Predated question.
Well, in mine, I didn't get there till 1978, and I always only saw Cleveland playing the rubboard. That was his thing, with that big giant smile and that finesse that he had on the. Everybody loved Cleveland. Everybody, yeah.
And I also heard he was also one not to really mess with, because he was so quiet and calm. And I've heard a couple of stories where, somebody ticked him off a few times and they really saw a different side of him that they weren't used to seeing.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, we ain't gonna mess with that no more either.
I mentioned how y'all toured and y'all played around. This gentleman, Paul Bodie, I saw a picture he posted a few years ago. And Clifton's got the crown on, you guys are on stage, and y'all are out at Verbum Day out in Los Angeles, which I know is the site where Dickie Landry brought Mick Jagger to meet Clifton Chenier. And Clifton allegedly said, "Oh yeah, Rolling Stone, yeah, I think they did an article about me." and they did. But they're both true. But talking about all this touring, as we were looking through these recordings, and these recordings from Tipitina is, I mean, we're talking a cassette tape stuck into the soundboard, just the board mono mix. Again, 40 minutes that really kind of made the cut onto the record. And it was, I guess there were several sets that the band played that night. But I guess when you guys were in Creole clubs,
non-stop. One set.
Yeah.
4 hours. Non-stop.
Yeah.
Bring your bucket. That's what my dad used to say, bring your bucket.
And listening to these recordings, he's mixing and matching lyrics and all kinds of stuff and riffs. And it was like, who has 4 hours of music in their head that they can just keep going?
Yeah, and not only that, but we would play the songs in the same key every night.
Nope. Not the same lyrics either.
Anything, it was all improvised, So that was a great learning experience for me, and to get that opportunity and to find your way through it. And it was just amazing that he could do that. And every night there was another song he played that I hadn't played with him. So.
Has anyone ever heard the song "Feeling Happy" by Big Joe Turner? Apparently Clifton knew it. And not only did he know it, he drops in a verse out of Rabbit Foot Blues from 1927 by Blind Lemon Jefferson. And at the end, he says, "Let the good times roll at the French la-la." It's like everything could go into a song.
Well, you see what it was, man. My daddy didn't learn words. He kind of heard them, and then he made whatever he heard into his own. So if he wanted to mix 2 or 3 songs together, that's just how it happened that night. That's the way it went down. It was all natural. Now some songs he sang almost the same every night, like "I'm Coming Home." That was the one he sang, but as far as for those other songs, man, no telling where they would go. And all we could do is follow. That was it. Let's go.
Let's take a quick little listen to this. It's at the end of the record. It might have just been the end of a set. I don't know, but I think he says good night at the end. But here's a little excerpt from "Feeling Happy."
Somebody else will do.
it was believed there was only one recording of Sonny and the band, and we're not sure where it is. But now there's this new one, and we are sure where it is.
I'm glad this came out now. It's official, actually mixed albums somewhat. So.
And I think we're listening back to it. You mentioned that Chidi, Robert St. Julian, he's got this sort of stick technique, right?
Yeah, he had a way of playing that all on the four, on the snare with one hand. And usually drummers use both hands to get that. Achieve that. But he did it with one hand. And while he's doing that, he's riding the tang and the hump on the cymbal. And just amazing what he could do. I've never played with anyone that could do all that he did. And had a way of building up the songs. And he and Cleveland, it was just seamless, when they came together. And each part of the song would get bigger and bigger. And you always knew what was going to happen with Big Robert because of the way he would lead into those sections.
And you called that a double shuffle, huh? You said he was playing on that one, which, again, there are so many forms of music when you go back that Clifton, like talking about like Joe Liggins and the Honey Dripper and Louis Jordan and all these things that sort of kind of came into the funnel and came out in different ways. And today, you may or may not hear some of these things played. You're not going to see except for Little Pop, you're not going to see the piano accordion. Except for him and CJ, you're not going to see it that much. And so I guess kind of as we kind of go towards the end of the session, what do y'all think the world needs to know about the next 100 years of Chenier music and the legacy? Where's it all going? What do we need to make sure we hang on to? What do we need to take with us as we go down this road? Because Clifton, he gave us a lot of lessons, right? How to do things well, how to take your culture to places where people don't know it, may not understand it, and then you all leave friends and fans. I mean, this was the unknown back in the day, and I don't think anyone blazed a trail like he did in Cleveland.
Well, like I said, I didn't get involved until 1978. But even then, traveling the world with my daddy, I left Port Arthur and went to Austin where I turned 21 in his band. And then we went on up to California and Oregon and up into Washington State and into Canada. And I was so infatuated, man. It was like something. And I recognized at that point how much people really loved him because I didn't know, I was playing funk on saxophone and keyboards, and then all of a sudden I was in a Zydeco band, and I didn't realize. But for years and years and years, people would come up to me and say, "What's Zydeco?" I said, "Well, that's not how you say it." Yeah, but that goes to show you how, they were so interested in the music, but they didn't really know much about it. So we were traveling all these places, and all you could see, even when I was a kid, and I would go hear my daddy play, I'd be behind the stage, right? And even though I didn't know what he was saying or none of that stuff, I'd be back there. Because it'll take you like that. So all these people that loved him so much, and 3/4 of them didn't even know how to say the word Zydeco. But they loved the music, they loved Clifton Chenier, they loved Cleveland Chenier, that sound that was coming off that stage, man. And everywhere he went, I don't care where it was, from Europe, all over the United States, I was infatuated on how much people loved Mr. Clifton Chenier.
And Sonny, I know with your music, we were listening to that blues, 3 o'clock blues earlier, and the way that y'all would do a minor blues in Clifton's band, I think that's kind of come into your music with your own band and your arrangements. Even though you're playing guitar, you're pulling some of his riffs and licks.
Yeah, a lot of what I do on slide guitar was actually inspired by what Clifton did on accordion and rhythmically, what Gramps Cleveland did, and Big Robin on the drums, believe it or not. All that had a profound effect on me. And the other thing too, talking about how people all over the world, we just couldn't help but be taken by the music, is because it was so infectious. I mean, if it didn't make you move while you're sitting, you know, like they say, there's something wrong with you, you know? But, and it's, in that way, it's a universal language, because even today, and all these years of traveling, in a lot of obscure places in Europe, they know Clifton Chenier. And they have the recordings, and it's really amazing to see that. I think that's part of the legacy, you know, in a big way, that this music stands the test of time. It'll always be, you know, received that way, given the chance to hear it.
Cheryl, you want to throw anything in on that?
I just, you know, keep the culture alive, you know, just like we're doing now, and you know, for people like Onsele and them putting on these festivals to keep all this going, so it doesn't die off. For me right now, I could just take it in. I'm still able to play with some of the originals from the band, and that's for me. You know, that's something I get to keep and share with the world. And I'm teaching the kids. I have one son that plays a guitar that my dad left behind, and he's scared to take it to school every day because he's just like, what if I lose it, man? But you're good. That guitar will protect you. The little one here, he's already trying to play washboard. So, you know, and it's things like that we have to instill and buy those old records. I still have the vinyl that I play on record players, and I have Hot Pepper and King of Zydeco on VHS. I sit them down and let them watch this and let them ask questions so they could go out and write books and throw festivals and to keep it going, because if we don't, it's gonna die. And it's a culture and a genre of music that you have to teach it, you know, but you can only learn from the ones who invented it at the end of the day. So I'm just very thankful, and just keep spreading the word, you know, take it around the world and show the people what Southwest Louisiana could do with soul, blues, and zydeco. So thank you so much.
Well, it's a great treat to be here with these artists. Let's let them go get their gig on. Thank y'all so much. How about it? In honor of Clifton Chenier, CJ, Sonny, Cheryl.
Wow, that was really great. Really educational.
The King of Zydeco.
Yeah, it's so awesome. Three-piece suit any time of the day. Love it. So funny.
We'd like to really thank Todd Mouton for writing the incredible liner notes and being the moderator on this panel.
Yeah, and we'd very much like to thank Festivals Acadiens et Créoles for allowing us to use this, and the Center for Louisiana Studies there in Lafayette, Louisiana. Appreciate it so much.
And going back to the record, Clifton Chenier Live at Tipitina's, special shout out to Sonny Landreth, the man behind the soundboard that evening.
Yeah, made it sound so good.
And co-producer on the record.
And was very, very involved with the early Tipitina's developments. Was there behind the soundboard many nights.
Yep.
So it's time to talk about the next release, huh?
So, we say this every time. So excited about it, but wow, really excited about this one.
We are always, though, really excited.
What we got coming up on our next release is the classic album by Earl King, Street Parade. If you're not familiar with this record, prepare yourself. And let's talk about what this is. This is the Meters with Alan Toussaint producing. Earl King singing. It's
early 70s.
It's a masterpiece.
Yeah.
It really is. I think really, really cool new artwork that we put together.
Yeah.
New cover.
Great Michael P. Smith picture.
Yes, incredible photograph. Yeah. From the photograph, the front cover is from one of the early Gator Balls, which were the events put on by the original 14 people who started Tipitina's. So a little connection there.
So yeah, we're really excited. We think this is going to be coming out for Mardi Gras, so it's going to be perfect timing for this Mardi Gras classic tune.
If you don't already have this in your collection, you're going to really appreciate this one. It's just such an incredible record.
So look for it coming your way. And if you're not part of the club, this is the pitch. Subscribe to the club. You will not be disappointed.
You could do a 6-month or a year subscription where you get albums mailed to you every other month.
To your door.
You don't have to go anywhere. They just come right to you.
Yeah, we do the legwork. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening.
Yep, thanks a lot. We'll see you here next time talking about Earl King.